So really, thinking about our theme, for you to be the person and the citizen you wanted to be, you had to turn your back on some parts of pop culture.
I had to kind of remove myself from pop culture completely, to be honest, because for what I do, popular culture is antithetical to it, completely.
We're getting into themes that John McWhorter deals with a lot.
The one thing that worries me is that so much of modern popular culture, especially for people, say, under about 25, and this is now people of all races, is a kind of popular culture where the main theme is the upturned middle finger. And of course, it's always been there to an extent, but there's an extreme now. And I'm talking partly about certain strains of rap music, but in general about the whole tone. And what worries me about that is that it can be antithetical to citizenship, because I think a lot of people think that sort of upturned middle finger, chanting lyrics over a beat that have a lot of curses in them and don't like that some people have more power than others, is a kind of citizenship.
At least in the groups that I've been in, there is kind of a general view that our young people are not being trained as citizens, that they're not looking or hearing, whether it's in school or in the culture, enough about what it is to sacrifice.
But I think their parents haven't been trained as citizens.
So you think it started? When do you think it?
Kids.
And David, your plays are. I mean, they're all about what it is to be an American and the American experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, frankly, that I think about the founding fathers per se when I go into do my work that has to do with particularly Asian American subjects. But I think it's one thing to have parents that are immigrants, because immigrants are, by and large, self-selecting. You can argue, therefore, that much of America was built from people who, are extra ambitious, who are risk takers, who are probably a little ADD.
In terms of the founding fathers, I would say that in my work, writing columns and books, I have a hard time connecting with them right now. But it seems to me that nation that arose had a problem in terms of certain people who it was bringing from another land to work as slaves.
Oftentimes what happens in our country is, speaking as a black person, there are things that have been happening in the black community since there's been a black community. And because much of the 20th century, the black community was out of sight, therefore out of mind, suddenly people from other communities see these things and say, oh my God, what are they doing? I mean, forget rappers. I mean, go find an old Rudy Ray Moore record. And that's all I have to tell you. It'll be an affirmation of something that you hear in rap music that seems like it's like this new thing that happened. But the interesting thing is that Rudy Ray Moore is basically a storyteller who was telling stories that were probably started just after slavery or during slavery. And when you talk about the black community and the objectification of women, it becomes this huge, it's so complex. Like imagine if you were living in a cabin and a person that is other than you decides that he wants to have a conjugal visit with your wife in a slave cabin. He puts you out, and you're standing out there, and you're hearing what's going on inside. Now, at that point, what do? You have two options. You kill him, and then you die, or you find a way to rationalize it in your mind. And one logical way it would seem to me to rationalize it is to say, well, I don't really like her that much anyway. And at that point, the seed is sown. And it goes from generation to generation to generation to generation. Because unlike the kids from the Columbine shooting who were immediately rushed into therapy. I mean, black people went through something like that for 300 years, and they say, okay, y'all can go now, no therapy, but y'all can go, and good luck, and find your way through all of this. So I think that when you look at the black community, there are such obvious scars from the legacy of slavery that black people themselves cannot address.